If there's one thing we've learned about business and life, it's that people are the X factor. They constantly surprise us, both in amazing ways and not so much. We're Ben and Syya, and welcome to the Gnaw on This Business Bites podcast. This show is all about real life things we all deal with every day, how they relate to business, and how to make some sense out of our daily chaos. Welcome to the show. And welcome back to another episode of Gnaw on This Business Bites. I'm Ben, this is Syya. And this week's episode is, what is a personal brand? Now, back in 2017, I started writing my first book. And the reason I started writing my first book is I go up to university 4 or 5 times a year, and I spend an entire day with 3rd and 4th level business students, teaching them how to negotiate, how to interview, how to network. And we spent a whole day doing this, and I've been doing it for years. And I say most of these kids are extremely smart, and most of them could not articulate what their brand was. Most of them did not understand that your brand is how people view you when you're not in the room. God love Jeff Bezos. So what we did is we went looking for a book that could do this, and I couldn't find it. So I wrote a book called Powerful Personal Brands, a hands-on guide to understanding yours. And what this book is about is not about how to be an influencer. It's not a look at me, look how wonderful I am, look how amazing I am, pay attention to me. It's a book for you to understand, who are you as a person? What's your good points? What are your bad points? And what are your ugly points? And how do you embrace it all? How do you live your life saying, this is authentically me. This is who I am. And I've got things that, that I love about me. I've got things that I hate about me. And I'm going to work on the things that I hate about me. But the things that I'm really proud of, you know what? Let's keep going. Let's keep it going and live our lives that way. And I think that we all need to sit there and say, okay, what is my personal brand? Who am I as a person? Why? What do I want people to say about me at my funeral or when I'm not in the room? And I think that if we can do that, if we can create a way that people can talk about us that we're proud of, we've done our job. So Syya, let's gnaw on this.
Oh my gosh. Okay, number one. I didn't know you wrote a book. I'm the worst podcast partner ever. Okay, first off, why aren't you on my library of books? Okay, I did not. I am like okay, how come you haven't mentioned it? And I guess why didn't I ask, right? So there you go. Brand number one issue is, you know what? I think sometimes we have this mentality of, well, on my merits alone, people should recognize who I am and what I do. And the reality of it is this. Ain't no one give a crap about you because we're so focused on our own BS and world of view that we don't think about the others. So you do have to put yourself up and out there. So first off, my apologies. I'm going to get your books and put it up there. Everyone buy Ben's books. Number two, personal brand. I think in the age of social media, the definition of it has been a little bit corrupted. Right? As you had mentioned, is personal brand not because of look at me influencer thing. Its actual reality is from a business perspective. If you are a corporate employee, I could see where people are like, why would I need a personal brand? I'm an employee of, Mary and Billy's Zany Cosmetics. Seriously, I don't understand where the things come out of my head. But anyway, so Mary and Billy Zany's Cosmetics, right? And I work for them. And then guess what? With all these recent layoffs, you too get laid off. And now people are sitting back going, wait a minute, I'm no longer a representative of Mary and Billy's Zany's Cosmetics. I can't even say the name of the company. Whatever. That's why I went out of business. That's why there's no job.
It was way too long a URL. Trying to say Mary and Johnny's the crazy cosmetics. Just trying to type that in. People got carpal tunnel syndrome and gave up.
But that's branding, right?
Absolutely.
So, and that's the whole thing is, even if you're a corporate employee, which by the way, 100%, that's the world needs to run, right? you still should have your own personal branding, because you know what? You're not always going to be at that. This is not the, 50s where everyone works for 30 years for the same company and they work there and then retire and call it a day. I think, what is the stats? Most people now have like 5 jobs in the course of their career or something
I
like
think
that.
it's 10 actually. I think
Is
it's
it 10?
closer to I think it's closer to 10 jobs by the from cradle to grave. Today, I think we're looking on average about 10 jobs.
Okay, so with that in mind, that means 10 times you've had to go around and do interviews. Now, this is a point that we talked about, resumes versus interviews, in a previous episode. Okay, now how do you stand out from all these other people that are on their 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 10th, job interview in their career? That's why personal brand matters, because now you've got a branding around yourself that you can succinctly message yourself, that you can actually clearly define who you are, what you represent, what your skill sets are, what your desires are, all that stuff. So people can actually make a quicker assessment if you're a good fit for hiring purposes, and, or again, being part of the company culture or community, etc., whatever have you. So that's why I encourage all my techie friends that, work for multi-billion-dollar companies, that I'm like, hey guys, you should still have a presence on LinkedIn. It doesn't have to be, I sell computers all day long. Screw that, right? Because I can assure you, once you stop selling computers, they're going to be like, okay, what else about you? So corporate friends, create your personal brand, because it's all about you and your next life and career and all that good stuff. As you say, Ben, what do people say when you're not in that room, or if you're lying in that coffin? You're making me tingly, in a good way.
This is a good thing. I always like to make you tingle. This is a good thing. Or is it tinkle? No, tinkle.
Not tinkle. Well, dude, I am getting old. It could be tinkle.
We're getting, there's a different story altogether. But when you're talking about a presence, whether it's on social media, whether it's in person, whether it's somebody talking about you, you need to make sure it's consistent. Are you saying the same thing? And are people saying the same thing about you, no matter where they are? Is it building know, like, and trust? Is it getting to a point where people are going, wait a second here, this is Syya. This is why you should talk to Syya. She's a great person. She's an advocate for her clients. She works extremely hard. She's really creative and she's passionate about what she does. Okay, there's your brand.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. It's not about this sophisticated marketing PR campaign. It's what are the 2 or 3 things that people will say about you unprompted. And there's a good thing to say is grab 20 people that either know you well or people that don't know you well and sit there and say, what are the 3 words you would use to describe me?
Challenge the audience right now.
Absolutely.
Don't write about us. Write about yourself.
Hey, listen, do it about yourself. But the thing is, you can't take it personally. Mm-hmm. If all of a sudden the answers come back and they're not what you think it is, you need to step back and ask why. If all of a sudden people sit there and the number word that comes up is demanding, you need to sit there and say, okay, why does everybody think I'm demanding? And it's not a slight against you. That's how people perceive you.
Oh, yeah.
And the question is, why do people perceive you as demanding? And it could be the fact that you are a passionate advocate in whatever you do, and you are relentless and you don't back down. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? It depends on how it manifests itself. So we need to sit there and go, how do we want to be perceived? We don't control our brand. Yeah. Multi-billion-dollar corporations like Coca-Cola, Nike, Tesla, they don't control their brands, neither do we. We can influence it. We influence it through our daily actions, reactions, and how we communicate. But it's people's perceptions of us that is truly what our brand is.
Ugh. Okay, I gotta jump in here because I'm gonna give a shout out. And I don't even know if he likes me, but that's okay. Michael Pratt. He runs this thing called Digital Fight Club. I'm total shout out because I love the concept. Indulge me, peoples. So basically what he does is he was tired of the panels of like, talk to a CMO and what do you think of this? So they came up with a new concept. Dawn McKenzie, a very good girlfriend of mine and him, sat down one day. They're like, well, what if we change it up where we take 2 executives that are extraordinarily bright, but have them duke it out and debate a concept. So what you just mentioned triggered a thought on me, which is, what does control a brand? Is it the consumer, or does a brand create your branding, right? Like, is it the company, or is it the consumer that really creates that branding and control? And that was one of the fights that they just had last month with CMOs.
And who won?
That's a good question. I think we went with consumer on that one.
I'm in consumer camp.
Consumer.
I'm absolutely in consumer camp. 50 years ago, the brand controlled everything because there was 3 different TV stations. You controlled the radio stations. You controlled the newspaper. There was no social media. There were no websites. You had the ability to control your own spin.
Yeah.
You can't control the spin anymore. There's just too many things spinning all over the place. When there's 10,000 independent media outlets in your neighborhood, forget about the world. How do you control the spin? If you got people out there that are haters, guess what? The haters are going to hate.
Hate. And
all you can do is put your best foot forward and let people sit there going, okay, what's their agenda that they're hating on these people? They look pretty good to me. They're doing a good job as far as I'm concerned. Why are these people putting the hate on these people? Now let's start digging into that company and find out who else are there. What is it? They hate everybody. Okay, well, maybe they're not worth our attention. And that's what we can do as brands, is we can present ourselves in our best light possible, but people are going to perceive what they're going to perceive. And we need to be okay with that.
Yeah. I mean, but okay, let's bring this back to personal branding though. Okay. So I do think that you do control your narrative of how you are represented. Now, understand there are implications, consequences for the branding. So I say this all the time to certain individuals that I've mentored in the past, which is, look, you might have some assets that, are great. You can leverage them, but don't lean on it, meaning don't rely on it, meaning, look, people, beauty is something that the youth enjoys, right? Or the societal expectations of a definition of a beauty, right? Us elderly, when I say elderly, are mature.
Gen X. Well, let's just say Gen X.
No, stop it, you. No, what I'm saying though is beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? So our age group, I would say, Ben, you're a handsome young man there, right? But of course, relatively speaking, to my 19-year-old niece, she'd be like, "Oh hell no, that's not my jam," right? And I hope she says that. Don't you get personal, Ben? But she should be around.
Hey, maybe she likes those white foxes. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to her about that. Anyway, so I'm joking, but I think though is like, again, whatever your assets are, whatever it is, that if you leverage it, that's great. But if you rely on it to create your brand, well, then what is your brand? Is it based on beauty then? I don't know if people understand what I'm catching here. So that
your brand has got to be who you are, not what you look like.
Authenticity. It's got to be authentically who you are.
Unless you want to spend the rest of your life under the knife in doing plastic surgery, your brand is who you are as a person, not what you look like.
Yeah.
So let's leave it at that, because I think that we could go on this forever.
We can.
But I think that your personal brand needs to be something that you could go, this is who I am, and I'm okay with that. I'm Ben.
And I'm Syya.
We'll see you soon.
Hey. Thanks for listening to another episode of Not On This, Business Bites. If you liked what you heard, we most humbly ask that you like, share, and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to communicate more effectively within your organization, contact Ben at yourbrandmarketing.com or me at brilliantbeammedia.com. We can help you build your community, brand awareness, and personality through digital content and podcasting. We cannot wait to hear from you. So see you next week for another episode of Not On This, Business Bites.